This is Chapter 9, Rebecca99x. Born of the House X, Rebecca99x sat on the edge of her chair. She could not concentrate on her studies, which was highly unusual for her. Rebecca was used to waking up at dawn, sitting at her desk and delving into studying atoms and quarks and the stars and whatever interested her. Really, and not looking up, not noticing time until it was dark outside and she wondered why she was so hungry and had to pee so badly. Today, however, was different. Today there was someone in the desert. Today she could not take her eyes off of the outside world. Why would someone be out there wandering in the desert when there are so many better, more interesting things to do? She muttered to herself. She had been watching this person first as he came from the west on some sort of an animal, then as he slowly trudged across the scorched earth. He walked. Can you believe it? And the clothes he was wearing, they looked so primitive. How was he surviving? She found him fascinating. Really stupid, but fascinating, and she was unable to look away. She made up 100 stories in her head. Maybe he was some sort of criminal, insane. Maybe he was an outcast from another nation. His clothes seemed to support the story that he was from another nation, but she needed more to go on than that to know the whole story. And that's what Rebecca liked. Stories. Whether she was studying plants or stars or weird people, she liked making sense of things. She knew the universe had a kind of intrinsic organizing force, and she wanted to know it. And so she kept watching with her fiery red eyes. She had no other obligation. No one in Alpha Nation has obligations. But she in particular had not made any promises to work on any particular scientific need. She just kept herself occupied, following whatever tickled her fancy at that moment in time. She was going to be turning 19 soon and had planned on going into the city to set her course of life in motion. But she was not in any rush to do that, and there was no predetermined date for it either. She had plenty of time to figure out exactly what she wanted to do. And besides, this stranger from a strange land was much, much more interesting. Who was he? Why was he here? And how is he surviving? And more than that, how does he fit into the grand design? She put on her robe, made sure all of her batteries were fully charged in her charging dock, double-checked her computer implant in her temporal lobe, and grabbed a pair of binoculars. Then she stood at the doorway, wanting to go out but terrified. She didn't go out much. She told herself that she just did not need to, but to tell the truth it was far too scary. Much easier to stay in with her science experiments and the maps and stuffed animals and videos of fun stories to keep her company. She stood at the doorway a long while, perhaps 15 minutes. And then she remembered that she could simply press a button on her temporal implant, which would send a signal to her brain to calm down. So that is just what she did. And then she walked out the door to meet this stranger.